if say why wouldn't it be magical if like Wolves or Southampton become the new top 6, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it will take time. I'm not saying they cannot. They can. Given the time, and of course, time is the essence of everything. Because over the years, that's how great things are being built, right? Like you talk about Manchester United, it was founded as a railway team, a recreational team that was found by railway workers coming together and playing. And if I'm not wrong, it's two railway workers coming together, so it's two different. So the legacy, we're talking about legacy. Of course, Wolves would have their own legacy. I'm not discounting West Ham
has been
so
125 years.
So it's about these teams building their own legacy. The reason why the top 6 are top 6 is because they've done exceptionally well in that sense. So I'm not discounting they cannot, but they will have to achieve it on their merit, like how Liverpool has achieved, United has achieved, Arsenal have achieved. Like, so if you want to be there, then you have to come through this process.
By order of merit.
Exactly. So I'm saying this only because there is, I mean, as a United fan, I would say pretty much nothing has changed. I mean, if you're a Man City fan, then you cannot talk about all this because your team was essentially bankrolled. Well, for United, it was a steady process up to 2005. It was fan owned. It was basically rebuilding, good team building over the years, and then of course 2005 with new owners didn't change much because we didn't really go and buy out all the good players, because 2005 is also the year Roman come and also disrupt. So it's that's the thing. That's the reason why FIFA came up with financial football financial.
Don't talk
play.
about the FFP.
I mean,
Let's talk about the FFP.
No, why?
So angry because UEFA make themselves look so good when actually they are not doing.
They couldn't even enforce
They
their
can't
own
even enforce.
laws.
Yes, please. They can't even punish teams like PSG. They
Man
can't
City.
even Manchester City. It's just a small amount. And where does this money goes to? Does it benefit the smaller teams? Does it benefit grassroots football?
Probably benefited somebody.
Somebody.
Yeah.
No, you see, the thing is, the reason why UEFA and FIFA are the biggest, I mean, basically they are the common denominators for the reason why this has been floated, because they hold all the rights. Okay, we're talking about holding rights. Rights, basically intellectual property and all that, everything has to be credited to them. You're talking about playing FIFA or playing PES, all the naming rights, everything, even though the clubs are owned by individual owners, but because they come under the umbrella of a European League, European Union or FIFA, every time you start out the game, you will see FIFA and UEFA rights.
Yeah, but they have misused a lot of it.
Yes.
It has gone
and this,
in the wrong direction.
This is where evil.
That is why I get the rationale why these 12 owners felt the need to come out, break out. First of all, obviously, more money. It's all money.
It's all money.
It's all about money.
They are not in the dire situation for saving the club. It's just more money, more profits. The second thing is they want more control. You see, the problem is UEFA and FIFA are the biggest stealers. Because they have all the rights, they are taking more money, and they're just giving a quarter of the money,
or maybe price, even less than that.
Price.
Yeah.
Thing.
Very good example is the Spurs against Liverpool final. 16,000 tickets each on each team.
70,000
seater. So the rest are all for the commercial fans.
No, it's the corporate sponsors
and all that. So only 16,000 tickets are given to each side of the fence.
Same thing for the Europa League final for the season when Chelsea
against Arsenal. So imagine how much they are actually raking it in. So it is unfair. They have been unfair since long ago already.
UEFA, don't tell me that this is about the fans.
Yeah.
You have never been about the fans.
Anyway, just to add, can I just confirm, the original plan of ESL is actually not to be excluded from UCL.
That's
right.
correct.
It's just they still want to play for UCL.
The original, and I think the first thing is that they wanted to remain in their domestic leagues.
Yeah.
That is the main basis of it. But I think they never expected that the domestic leagues would react the way that they did. Yeah, I think this part was probably calculated wrongly. They didn't expect that sort of reaction from the respective FAs and the other members of the leagues, that they wanted them out of their domestic leagues. Because if that happens, then I would safely say that it really is going to be a very it will really leave a sour taste on everybody's mouth.
Because you see, these big teams have huge academies, they've got huge reserve team, so basically playing one more game in the middle will allow them to develop their youth teams faster.
They will probably,
and then they will sell. Then, you know, of course, they'll keep the best prospects, and then that allows them to make money off the players. So there is some commercial aspect going in. You see, the thing is, but what the English Premier League recognize is that if they do so, then come weekend, they will
probably play their reserve squads or their youth squads.
So then it brings down the quality of football.
That's what Satish said, is that there is, because this whole idea of the ESL is actually to ring fence these 12 clubs. That basically there's no way they can drop out of this ESL because they are the supposed founding members of it. So other clubs will have to gain entry by merit or by invitation. Okay? So the thing is that regardless of how well or how badly they do within the domestic leagues, they can get relegated to the championship, but they will still be playing ESL for the next season. So that is the thing that most of the fans within their countries cannot accept. That it's a combination of many factors. Okay, you see, how the 6 clubs probably would interpret things is that it's always the 6 of us versus the rest of them. Okay, when we wanted rescheduling of our games, okay, you said no. When we wanted 5 substitutes because of fixtures congestion or whatever, you said no. 14. Okay, is that there's always a vote, but my vote as a big club is still counted as 1 vote. Regardless whether you are West Bromwich Albion or you are Manchester United, it's still 1 vote. So I think that is why they probably look at it is that, hey, why am I being held back by these 6 clubs? So if that is the case, since they are not looking after my interests, why should I look after their interests? I don't know. This is just my purely speculative point that it could be a case of
possible. It might be.
Over years that they could have actually started to I'm just getting sick and tired of this 14 of them. They are always looking after their own interests, so I have to look after my own interests. So everything again, it boils down to self-interest, money.
Each club has to look after themselves.
Talking about self-interest.
Yes.
Right. Let's go towards the chairman of ESL, who is also the president of Real Madrid. So there might be a reason why he wants to start the ESL
now. And although it's really bad timing, but we can understand why they wanted to start the ESL now, because ever since 2020 and all that, there's no fans in the stadium. They have been losing money from the ticket sales, from the like merchandise and all that. Probably a lot of factors going in. Money is not coming in from these games, but they have to pay the wages, the infrastructure and all that, and it's still money going out. So with UEFA controlling the amount of money that these clubs have, they feel that they don't have the power. It's understandable that they feel that they don't have the power to negotiate with UEFA anymore. UEFA being greedy themselves, right? They don't have the power to negotiate, and that's the reason where I say evil bore evil. The evil of UEFA bore the evil of ESL. The ESL wanted to break away because of the many reasons that they think. It's a bad time. I'm saying the timing is bad because at the moment, even though it's COVID, people feel that it's selfish because they wanted the money for themselves. But I can tell you that, as let's say, I'm not a business owner, so before I get flack from the other fans.
But you were saying that Real Madrid is really in debt, right?
Yes, Real Madrid and Barca, they are already in debt. They have, like, example, Barca got Messi. Right, they have a lot of
they are messy now.
Because they are paying $500,000 a week just to keep him. I mean, that is wrong business sense. If you tell me, then
it's over. It's not just Messi, because over the years, Suarez, Griezmann, Coutinho,
Yeah, so
it's just one too
so
many.
I mean, they first of all they have to take a hard look at themselves whether they are making the right financial choices before they even come out with all this kind of like. It almost seemed like a Ponzi scheme because it's about a promise of something, but then it's not. It's promise about widening the football pyramid and whatsoever. It's not. The thing is, just spoke about like the gate receipts. It's if you just look into their financials again, it is a very small part. Honestly, a very small part because first of all they have a home and away, right? So if they're gonna meet X number of teams in the league each time they go on the road and stuff like that, it's a very small part of the money supposedly into their revenue because the main monies are actually the player rights, their sponsorships, and then their merchandise, which merchandise not necessarily will only sell at the stadium. There's this
it's international.
With e-commerce and everything. It's and of course we're talking about if you talk about the top 6, they're being sponsored by basically the top merchandise teams, the sports teams, which availability anywhere you go to a shopping center in a lowly neighborhood shopping center, you can find an Adidas jersey with a United jersey or a Nike Spurs jersey. It's easily attainable. So those are the main money makers. So it's not the COVID reason, and of course this opens the opportunity to get direct to consumers, so they can bypass the broadcaster.
Actually, that's the thing. We are thinking about them getting all this merchandise, but if let's say fans are not buying the merchandise, even though for Liverpool the Nike jerseys are selling a lot, but it's a trickle down effect. Because of COVID, people are not spending, may not be spending. So the amount of revenue that we think of, they are not getting ticket sales, but they're getting revenue from others, broadcast and all that. But these companies controlling the broadcast like Sky and all that, they may not giving in more money than what they're supposed to because of the reason COVID. So COVID may be a substantial reason for these bigger companies who are actually controlling like broadcast and all that to actually cut out. And that's what I think UEFA is doing. Oh, we cannot give you more money because of this. So they are actually skimping a lot on the funds towards the teams.
That is of course is to cheat people because you talk about broadcasting right is just basically like how we set up production, a bunch of cameras here and there, and then you're talking about energy wasted, electricity, whatsoever. It's still when you talk about the X amount of money generated versus the output is always going to be higher. So it is naive to think that these companies are complaining because of COVID. No, it's just a reason for them to get away because they can cite all these. Yeah. They can cite all these reasons because we can pity them in a sense. They're still keeping up broadcast and all that. No, it's the most easiest thing to do because they depend on satellite. They depend on a few people to run the show, program the show.
Minimal cost.
Exactly. So
it's minimal cost.
COVID is just one reason to say,
it's the perfect excuse.
Exactly.
It's the perfect excuse
we've
for
been naive
everybody.
to think.
Yeah. I agree because the thing is I agree with this, but we also must take these points in mind because for Satish, I think he's against this because he knows that the owners of Manchester United is definitely pocketing the money. I am not defending FSG, but I understand why FSG is doing this. Okay, because every time that they make a decision, it's always the club in mind as a business. Because for FSG, example, for Liverpool, they know that Liverpool is a brand. They took over the brand from a club that is almost administration. Then after that, they build it into almost $3 billion worth of branding as a brand itself. So from there, so far, I know they have screwed up a few times, but every decision they make is always the club in mind. So what I'm thinking is that them going into ASL is actually having the club in mind, even though it's actually a bad move, without thinking about the fans and all that. It's a bad move, but all I can say is that highly likely they are actually making this decision because they have the club in mind. They want to push the club forward and of course the money coming in as a business, I will rake in some money, but the money I will still put it into the club because I want the club to maintain becoming the top 6. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not too sure whether for Manchester United maybe it's different because the way you see the ecosystem in Manchester United maybe it's like okay, the owners are taking everything, but for FSG probably maybe it's a bit different.
No, I somewhat agree to disagree lah. Only because I think I mean I get it. You say that they will look after the club interest. I mean, yeah, they will because they have to, right?
Yeah, it's owners, a business. Right? That's what I say.
Yeah,
so they have to look after the club interest for their own pocket.
Yes,
exactly.
So
I think you're missing the point because that's what Glazers have been doing all these X number of years, almost 20 years now. Yeah, they've looked after the money. They've given us transfer kitty to buy players and all that. But there's still the bank, the club as a company is the most profitable thing for them, and the fact that they're not repaid the loan or the debt is the astonishing part. Clearly it's not looking after themselves. I mean, because they're a company, they have to run. Even though you say because they have the best interest in mind. No, the whole thing is the day-to-day operation. The chef in Liverpool training ground has to get paid. The gardener, the fellow who does the pitch. So everybody needs to get the vendors, the contractors. Everybody has to get money. So that is what it is, right? The thing is, FSG is already making money. You're talking about United owners, they're making money. City owners. So all these teams, they're already making money. It's not that they need the extra money to make sure these things work. No. It's just greed. They already have the money to run. It's just more money so that it doesn't go this way, it goes more this way. Right? So if you're telling me if they say we need more money because we need to pay the vendors, the contractor, we need to keep the lights on. Yes, okay, I agree. Then no choice. You have to restructure. You have to maybe fire a few few things like how Arsenal fired their mascot, to save money. Then yes, I agree.
And player pay cut.
Yeah, so I agree because there's a real need for it. But at this point in time, these 12 teams don't need.
I think not 12 teams, but maybe Real Madrid has a hidden agenda. They're trying to save themselves lah. Maybe
probably Real Madrid.
No, I mean probably Real Madrid. Yeah, they could have. Yep. I mean, I agree with you. The whole entire thing about Florentino Perez driving this whole entire project, it could be actually because of himself and his so-called his beloved Real Madrid. Because he is probably the one that is liable. He has probably the biggest liability of all of them.
Yeah.
So it could actually be a case, Yeah. So I mean, Satish is not wrong. Okay, Satish is right from seeing that way from a fan's point of view.
I think from let's move from owners' perspective. Let's move to the reactions these past few days ever since they announced the ESL. I think there's a lot of reactions that caused that chaos, and suddenly the ESL get disrupted and all that. I mean, everybody, UEFA, FIFA and all that. Let's talk about fans' reactions, right?
Actually,
I think there were many
fans'
social media videos.
Yeah, social media is that for the Liverpool fans, it was a huge uproar. I mean, you can go to Facebook probably not so much, Instagram probably not so much, but Twitter was literally filled with a lot of hate messages for FSG.
FSG out.
Okay, yeah. It's
FSG
literally
out,
FSG out has started
all the
trending
owners
again.
were trending.
Yeah.
Glazers out, your owners out,
Kroenke
out.
Yeah.
So all the owners were
Daniel
trending.
Levy out.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, first thing, I think from a Liverpool's fans' perspective, okay, we have to understand why the Scousers feel so strongly against this ESL concept. Okay, for a foreign fan, it may not mean so much to us, but because we don't live within the city, we have to understand how the locals feel. Because to them, Liverpool Football Club represents the people of the city. Okay, it's the heart and soul of the whole entire city. So to them, it's like you are selling your soul to the devil now. That is something that the locals can never accept. Yeah, because I've been to Liverpool myself, and I've actually mingled with the locals. And when you speak to them, they really have you can really feel that to them their life revolves around the football club. They will go to work on Monday to Friday, but they will just look forward to a midweek game or a weekend game whatsoever. Their lives just revolves around the football club. So the whole club went back. Okay, we go back just to modern history. Okay, not to the very initial part of Liverpool's history, but modern history when Bill Shankly came in as the manager. Okay, the club was Liverpool is a club that was built on socialist values. Okay, so to them now is that, hey, a socialist club should not be actually partaking in this sort of event or this sort of the ESL thing. It doesn't make sense to them. And because you're doing like what Satish said, it's greed. To them, you just view it that it's greed, greed. And the fans, okay, as what Jas was saying just now, the locals will not hear anything from anybody of their rationale. It's like, if the owners want to say that, okay, this is why I want to take part in the ESL or whatever, the locals is like, no, no way.
What about Manchester United fans?
Like for me, that's why I'm still so angry because they've not paid the owing to the bank. So again, if they default payments or for some bad reasons, they lose money and then
the club is in a precarious position.
So that is my concern, right? I mean, of course, over the 20 years, Touchwood has not happened, and it seems like they still have their other businesses that are doing well. I mean, the Glazers family own a few football. They own an American football team as well. So they're making money left, right, center. So we're not in a immediate financial crisis because they've got a cash cow called Manchester United. Okay, and the whole frustrating part again, like what I would agree to what Mel said, because the people in Manchester or in Merseyside will feel more passionately for their team because it is basically bread and butter for them. Again, if I'm a factory worker in Liverpool or I'm a industrial worker in Manchester, I would want to look forward to that Saturday or Sunday game because it's woven into my tradition, going to the pub with my mates or watching at home. So it becomes part and parcel of their life.
It's part and parcel of my life.
So if just taking one aspect of it's going to cause an uproar.
They can't accept it.
Yeah, because I saw one banner because the Chelsea fans also rioted and protested, and one of the banner actually said, "I want my Tuesday nights in cold Stoke." I want my cold nights in Stoke. Right? Because
I saw that.
That essentially is football. Like we are in Punggol in Singapore, we feel it, right? Even though we've not been to Stoke, we've not experienced it, but just because what they have experienced innately is something that we feel passionate about. We would also want our teams to go out and play in a cold night in Stoke and lose. I mean, United have done that many times because it's a cold Stoke City stadium. So that is football. That is the football that we like. So if that basic element is taken away, then it kills all joy. It doesn't matter if you put in the elite 12 teams to play and you see the quality of football being elevated. That is not the point. It's about Bielsa came out the perfect answer to it, because in the EPL is the only league where you will see a weak team beat a strong team, because there are possible you will see teams beating giant teams. So
I think for Arsenal, I think from AFTV and all that, I think we are not happy that we automatically enter a Super League. We want it to be on merit. And I think Wenger says that as well. He says that football is a sport. Sports without merit isn't sport. So Arsenal, even as much as I want them to be in UCL, if in Europa playing all the big games and all that, getting the TV rights, but we need to qualify for it.
Yes.
If we don't deserve to be in, we shouldn't be in. Right. So that's, to us, I think a lot of Arsenal fans are saying that, because I think we are honest about ourselves. If we are not good enough, why should we be inside? We can be traditionally based on history that we are top 6, but it doesn't say that we are going down that road for the next few years. Right. So anyway, the owners, the going to managers, I don't think Arteta knows about it. So the
No
owners
one knows about it,
No,
had
I don't
think
had
none of them
apologized
knows
to Arteta, and I think the general manager of
I think
Arsenal
that's true,
has
bro.
apologized. I think you guys also, the owner has come out with an apology video
Yep.
apology.
Yep.
United owner also came out with a open letter to fans and come out apologizing to all the fans. And yeah, I'm pissed because they I remember because I watched the last United game against Burnley, and I was watching the post game
Reaction.
press con, and so the Sky Sports reporter was asking Ole, hey, you know, this breaking news, we just heard your team is going to participate in this Super League, tell us more about it. And then he's like, what? Right? So thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
And
Same
like,
thing for Klopp.
Same.
yeah, so I'm down there on Saturday. I'm like thinking, what the hell is happening? And then, you know, obviously Twitter and Instagram very fast, it breaks out, and then you start to learn about it. And you know, only on up to Tuesday then you realize, hey, this could be real, and then of course it quickly died. But that's the thing, this is a PR nightmare. Basically, they did not
Consult the managers,
They
the
did not
players.
inform.
Yeah.
There was no press
Even the
release.
staff.
Yeah.
Even the staff within the football clubs were actually made to take a lot of the hit on behalf of the owners, because people, apparently from what I read, that the staff at Liverpool were actually facing online abuse, phone calls to abuse them and all this sort of things,
Yeah.
and they were basically kept in the dark from everything, and they didn't know that there was this Super League thing that was going on, and it was all agreed, supposedly agreed. So I think, okay, put things into perspective. Okay, it's only when the managers and the players started to speak up against this whole concept of the Super League that I suspect that could be the main factor that why the owners decided to actually pull out eventually. Because let's be honest, fans probably have the memories of goldfishes. After, they'll just be making noise and voicing all their disgruntlement and everything like this. But end of the season, you give them a Mbappe. You appease 50% of the fan base. Okay, they still give you a Mbappe. ESL, they give you.
Okay.
But
Can.
whom they cannot afford to offend are the managers. Like, for example, Klopp. Let's be honest, Klopp is a much bigger figure in Liverpool Football Club to the fans versus John Henry. And John Henry knows that.
Yeah.
And worse, when players like Henderson, the captain, comes out and all the other players started to tweet about their disapproval of the Super League, I think that is ultimately the thing that caused Liverpool to quickly withdraw.
Yeah, and of course, when you talk about players, right, your employees, right, and then they were also facing the prospect of being banned from Euros and
World Cup. Yeah.
You're talking about World Cup winners. You know, you're talking about like Paul Pogba, World Cup winner. He definitely wants to win another World Cup. He's still young. So you're talking about England, in the England squad, basically. Essentially, the England,
Nobody to represent.
Yeah, basically your essential first 11 or your bench, they're all in the top 6.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're talking about the backlash, the amount of backlash that they will get as individual fans and in totality a country is huge. So that is why this whole thing is
It's a PR nightmare.
It's a nightmare.